got a whole lot of money. Whole lot of money. I got a whole lot of money. Whole lot of money. Got a whole lot of money. You can't hold nothing from me. I got a whole lot of money. I got a whole lot of money. I got a whole lot of money. I got.
What is up, fellas? Welcome in to another episode of the Pineapple Squad Fantasy Football Podcast, Week 7 edition. That's right, it's Week 7. We are officially halfway through the fantasy season, which I cannot believe. It seems like just the other day I was drafting a terrible team that wouldn't take me anywhere this year. But no, it was a long time ago. We are halfway through the fantasy season, and although we're starting to get a couple teams at the top pulling away and a couple teams at the bottom looking like fucking trash wagons, besides that, everyone's really close. It's still technically anyone's game. I'm real happy with how the matchups and everything's been going this year. I think we have a really tight league. Injuries and everything aside, can't really help that. But I had a good trip. Didn't get to watch a lot of football this weekend, but had a good trip. Went to some wine country. Got more hilarious videos of Kelsey sleeping on the floor at 7:30 at night because she drank 3 glasses of wine. You know, I love her. She's the best. Repping my outer belt tonight. Glasstown, what's up? Boom. Yeah, so I didn't get to watch a lot of football, but looks like we had some good matchups this week, so we're going to get into these scores. I'm going to go back and look at some of the waiver pickups this week. We had some waiver action, check out the standings, and I do have a matchup of the week ahead of time. I already know who I'm picking for my matchup of the week, and I'm super excited about it. So let's get into this recap real quick. The screen share. All right. Our matchup of the week, we had 2 of the teams that were at the bottom of the barrel here. These guys are trying to claw their way back out of the fantasy basement. We had Pineapple and Mitch. And if you would have told me at the beginning of the season that Pineapple would be starting Carson Wentz over a healthy Breezes, I would not have believed it. But I also picked the Cowboys to go to the Super Bowl, so clearly I know nothing. Wentz did have a respectable week. He had 359 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 rushing touchdown. Ends up with 31 points. Terry Mack looked really good against that Cowboys D, that Cowboys D is on pace to literally be the worst defense of all time. He grabbed 7 catches for 90 yards and a score. James Conner couldn't find the end zone against the Titans, but he did manage 4 yards a carry and added 3 catches for 14. Travis Fulgham, I still have no idea who that is, but Travis Fulgham and Will Fuller both put up 12 in the flex. And George Kittle adds 10 points on 5 catches. Not that it would have mattered in this game, but MJ picked up DJ Moore in that trade last week, and he held down that bench very nicely with 25 points. So maybe MJ will play him this week. We'll see. Boozebrowski is keeping his spirits up after a disastrous start to the season. We all know about his injury problems. Some of his fallen soldiers are starting to get back to their preseason form, and they are ready to compete the second half of this season. Mitch is led this week by Devontae Adams, who sliced up the Houston D for 196 yards and 2 touchdowns. He finished with 44 points. He also leaned heavily on the Texans this week. He had Deshaun, DJ, and Brandon Cooks put up a combined 56 points. Deshaun throws for over 302 touchdowns. Donut Johnson has 4 catches and a score. And Cooks finishes with 7 for 60. Darren Waller for the Raiders adds 6 catches and a touchdown. And Matt Prater goes 3 for 4 and perfect on extra points for 15 points. Boozebrowski smacks the shit out of MJ. He wins the battle of the losers 151-119 and makes a strong statement that he ain't dead yet. Mitch is still here. Don't fuck with him. Watch out. Next up, we have Brown and Coach Taylor in our closest match of the week. And when I say close, I literally mean it came down to 0.6 points. That is a stat correction away from going the other way. This matchup was closer than Skip's testicles when he wears those baby Gap jeans that he loves so much. All right. And is anchored this week by 2 strong wide receiver performances. Tyler Boyd had 11 catches for 101 and a touchdown against the terrible Browns secondary. And Hoppy went 10 for 103 and a score against the Hawks on Sunday night. Matt Stafford passes for 340 and a touchdown, and Kareem Hunt continues to fill in nicely for Nick Chubb. He has 76 rushing yards and a receiving touchdown. Sober Melvin Gordon this week, 68 yards and a score, and Marvin Jones adds 5 for 80 as well. One of Vange's issues, however, was that Hoppy's points were pretty much all covered up by Kyler Murray. He had a huge game against Seattle, 427 all-purpose yards and 4 touchdowns. Kamara maintains his RB1 status with 83 on the ground and 65 in the air. T. Higgins is another Cincy receiver that fed off that shitty Browns secondary. He went 5 for 81 and a tutty. Calvin Ridley rounds out Brown's top scores with 69 yards and a score, although this is a relatively low score for Brown considering what he's been doing this season. He still scrapes by 132.5 to 131.9. That's insane. And real quick, before we continue, I want to talk about Brown's team. You all know how much he's been scoring. He is the top scorer this year. The dude has, oh my God, you know what? I completely forgot to change the score. I'm sorry, guys. There we go. That's my bad. Brian currently has the number 1 fantasy quarterback in Kyler Murray. He currently has the number 1 fantasy running back with Kamara. He currently has the number 1 fantasy scoring tight end with Travis Kelce, and the rest of those guys aren't really bums either. The low point for him this week really was Drake not being able to do anything. Everyone else on the Cardinals seemed to be able to score except for Drake. So I'll give you guys a second to take a look at the score. I'm sorry, I forgot to switch that over. And then we'll go ahead and slide over to the next game. This is going to be our highest scoring contest this week. The Gronkville 69ers. I'm not really sure why we're still calling his team that because Gronk is on my team, but whatever. Faced off against Bear Night Shift Rigsby. Bear was looking to keep his win streak alive and commit a hate crime against a disabled person, while Hooch was looking to rebound after consecutive losses, and he just wanted to prove the cripples can still be useful. So let's get into this matchup. We'll look at Bears team first. Josh Allen, who despite having a promising start to the season, he continues his recent struggles. He does throw for over 300 yards, but no touchdowns. That means he finishes with a mediocre 16 points. Not to mention the Bills almost lost that game this week. And if you lose to the Jets this year, just fucking kill yourself. You're out of the league. Go join the XFL. You're terrible. A.J. Brown showed up to play against the Steelers. A.J. Brown had 6 balls for 153 yards and a score. In that same game, Deontay Johnson for the Steelers, he rebounds from his injury last week, grabs 9 receptions, including 2 for touchdowns. That situation just keeps getting worse trying to pick which Steelers receivers to start every week because you don't know, Ben. Next week, I guarantee you James Washington will have fucking 10 catches and 3 touchdowns. Where we at? 13 from Robbie Anderson, 17 points from Hawkinson. DeAndre Swift adds a touchdown for 15. The rest of his team really wasn't bad at all. Unfortunately for Bear, it didn't really matter what he did because the big man came to play this week. Hooch rolled up in his rascal scooter and said, "I'm back, bitches." That's right. He's pissed after 2 losses in a row. I'm going to save the good stuff for last with Hooch's team. Let's start with Todd Gurley, who got 2 touchdowns on 63 yards, even though the Falcons got another loss. James Robinson continues to be an amazing pickup by Hooch. This dude is back to his beginning of the season self. He puts up 31 points with 1 receiving and 1 rushing touchdown. Andy Dalton got his fucking head ripped off, but Coop's season still managed to get 15 points on volume alone. And even the kicker wanted to get in on bear hunting season as Butker adds 14 points. Now to Sunday night. Oh, boy. Let's start with Big Russ, who had almost 500 all-purpose yards and 3 touchdowns and should have finished with over 40 points except for the fact that he threw the ball to the other team 3 times. And he only gets 35 points. And if the game would just end there, Bear wins by 5 points. But wait a minute. Here comes Big Dick Lockett. My man had 15 catches, 200 yards, and all 3 of Russ's tutties went to him. My man finishes the game with 53 points and puts the mushroom stamp right on Bear's forehead. Hooch runs away with this one, 191 to 144. And I'm grateful that I already played Hooch and I don't have to play him again until the end of the year. Not like it would matter anyway, but good sweet Lord, this man is a monster right now. Let's go to the next matchup. This features the other Rigsby against your boy Vinny. After a slow start to the season, Skip is looking to continue his march to the top. While I am in desperation mode, I'm just looking to get closer to 500 and dig myself out of the last place. Unfortunately for me, it was another underwhelming week for Zeke and Destroy. Surprisingly, my 2 bye-week waiver pickups were the best performers on my team. Justin Herbert continues his campaign for Rookie of the Year with a monster day against the Jags. My dude threw for 347, ran for 66, and had 4 total touchdowns for 43 points. My other new addition was Gronk, who is slowly starting to look like his old self. Where am I at with Gronk here? He had 5 catches, 62 yards, and he did get a touchdown. Juju finally showing some signs of life after a couple down weeks with 9 catches for 85. That was about it for me. Zeke looked like trash, but to be fair, that entire team is trash. Somehow Mike McCarthy has managed to make the Dallas Cowboys worse. Even with Dak, they didn't look great. Claypool has less than a point. Bobby Trees has 5, and Edelman is so bad that his ass got cut for a kicker this week. Looking at Skip's team, we've got solid work coming from the flex spots. Godwin has 88 yards and a tutty, even though he broke his finger and might not play this week. Keenan Allen goes 10 for 125. Matt Ryan has over 300 yards, but he only has 1 touchdown. And Boston Scott getting involved with the receiving game for the Eagles. He has 3 catches for 46 and a touchdown. Julio looking good with 8 for 97, but unfortunately for Skip, his other big-name receiver, OBJ, tears his ACL immediately in that game and goes out with 0 points and obviously is done for the year. Will Lutz goes perfect on field goals and extra points at 11, and Skip does enough to put me away 132 to 107. Good job, Skip. All right, next up, last but not least, we've got another 2 and 4 team trying to claw their way out of the bottom when Banana met Gibbsy. Gibbs has come to rely on Patty Mahomes putting on a show every week. You can't blame him for that. And this was a perfect example of how that can go wrong. Mahomes threw for 200 yards and a score, but only attempted 23 passes in this game. And he finishes with a season low 43 points. 14 points. The Chiefs had 43 points, but it did not involve Mahomes that much. His top performer this week was Gio Bernard, filling in for Joe Mixon. He had 5 catches for 59 yards and a score to go along with his 37 rushing yards. Tyreek caught 6 of Mahomes' 15 completions for 55 yards and a score. And Ronald Jones found the end zone to salvage 10 points out of his shitty day. Banana wouldn't have much work to do to beat Gibbsy's sub-100 score, and although he didn't really get a great performance from anyone, he definitely got a bunch of okay performances from almost everyone. Tannehill throws for 220 and 2 touchdowns against the Steelers. Antonio Gibson had 128 yards and a touchdown on 20 carries, and CEH adds a touchdown on his own. Debo goes 5 for 65 against the Pats, and Kenny Golladay brings in 6 for 114 yards. It was another low-scoring week for Banana Man. His team still didn't look great, but he did do enough to get the win against Gibbs. That's all that matters. He takes it 108 to 94. Let's take a look at these updated standings. You can see here we have a tie at the top between 2 teams that are basically just trying to – we're racing to see who's going to be the first team to put up 200 points this season because they're both killing it right now. You got Brown and Clint at 5 and 2. You have Bear coming off of his win streak, but he still sits in 3rd place with 4 and 3. Pat's also at 4 and 3, along with Gibbs. However, I'll say that Pat and Bear are probably trending more on the upside. Gibbs started the season hot, and he might be trending a little downwards, especially after that last performance. So we'll see how this next week goes. You got the Dream, Andrew, and Mitch all getting out of the basement there. They sit at 3 and 4. There's still only 2 games back. That's very important to remember. And then, of course, the bottom feeders, you got myself and MJ. Actually, I'll say MJ and myself. I'll put myself last because I am legitimately the worst team in the league right now. Let's take a look at these points real quick. I just want to point something out to you guys. This motherfucker, Brian, has 1,109 points through 7 weeks this season. That's absolutely ridiculous, all right? Hooch is behind him with 1,074. They're the only two that have scored over 1,000 points this season. And then your boys down there with who has the least amount of points scored is Mitch. You know what, though? You got your matchups right. You got the least amount of points scored, but you're still sitting 3 spots out of last or 2 spots out of last, whatever. So good on you, Mitch. I'm not talking shit about anyone because I'm horrible. Let's go. What we got coming up next? Let's take a look at some of these waiver wire pickups. The big money this week was for Corey Davis, who I dropped. Andrew added him for $25 and dropped James Washington. See who else we had on Corey Davis. We had Mitch with $8. We had Vinny Bananas with $7. Does that say Mitch? Maybe I'm missing something. You guys can see the screen. It looks like Mitch bid on Corey Davis twice. I'm not sure how that happens. Maybe I'm missing something, but whatever. And then Pat straight up just tried to pick him up, didn't bid anything. Fair enough. We got Rashard Higgins for Cleveland going for $16 to MJ. That might not be a bad pickup considering OBJ's out for the year. I'm kind of surprised no one else bid on him. Brandon Ayuk for San Francisco, wide receiver going for $12. We had a couple more bids. We had Vinny Bananas and Vinny Bananas and Clint both bidding $8. Clint and Brian shouldn't be allowed to bid on anyone until they start losing because fuck those guys. They don't need anybody else. Speaking of which, Brone picking up Jamichael Hasty. I guess that's a real person. I've never heard of him. $11. Maybe this is why I'm in last place, guys. I've never heard any of these fucking people you guys are all picking up. Jamichael Hasty for $11. No one else bid on Jamichael Hasty. Nelson Aguilar. Dream picked up Nelson Aguilar for $6. I picked up Des Bryant because why the fuck not? My team's so shitty. If I can catch a flyer and he starts for him in a couple weeks, fuck it. Clint picks up Eric Ebron for the for the Steelers, tight end for the Steelers. Derek Carr goes to Pat for no money, and Potty Miller goes to Pat for no money. Is Pat just out of money? Is that why he's not actually bidding money on any of these guys? I'm out of money. I know that. All right, and here's the moment I've been waiting for. I'm very excited about this. The matchup of the week. You all know what it is already. Rigsby Bowl. It's the motherfucking Rigsby Bowl. I look forward to this time every year. We get to see which one of the twins is better. Is it going to be fucking Patchy Beard Adams Bear over there, or is it going to be fucking Baby Gap Jeans Pat? I'm going to say, based on his recent transactions, I really like that Aaron Rodgers pickup by Pat. Derrick Henry going against a shitty Cincinnati defense is probably going to run for 150 yards. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Pat to win this one. No disrespect to Bear. If Josh Allen comes out and looks like beginning of the season Josh Allen against New England, then it's for sure a close game. But I'm going to go ahead and take Pat to win that one and move up to 5 wins. All right. That is going to do it for me, boys. I appreciate y'all. Good luck to everyone this week. Prayers up for me that I can somehow manage to beat Gibbsy. And fucking Justin Herbert is going to turn my season around. That dude's going to put up 40 points every week and going to bring me back. I got to keep the faith because I do not want to do a beer mile, especially if Brian wins the league and I have to do the beer mile. That's going to be a disaster. I'll be throwing up everywhere. Love you guys. Good luck to everyone this week, and catch you next week.
Let me put a little raise in. Whole lot of money, got a whole lot of money.